Hey, what's up, guys? Keith Underwood here, creator, writer, and producer of Califia and the Timeless Sentries. And we have back up in the village with us, Miss Erin Fitzgerald.
Hi,
What's up,
Keith.
Erin?
Not much, quarantine.
Yeah. Let me
It's
just
good
check
though.
that I've
It's
got
safe.
all of my stuff working here. Yes, I do.
Oh,
Okay,
good.
so we know Erin from Edd and Eddy, from World of Warcraft. Let's see, Persona 4 Golden, and Ask the Story Bots.
I have the images so that I can point to the, yeah,
I see. It's like
it's
it's.
helpful.
But wait a minute, move your head a little bit to your left, Erin. Uh-oh, twinsies. I feel like I'm watching a modern interpretation of Bewitched, or I Dream a Genie.
That's it. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So, Erin, tell everybody a little bit about yourself before we get into the meat and potatoes.
Uh, it's such an interesting thing. I'm an actor
Mhm.
from Canada originally, a daughter of a psychiatric nurse and a commander in the Canadian Navy. I have a sister, so I am a sister. I have been studying and training and trying to be an actor my entire life. So it's 40 plus years of working at a craft, and never feeling like I have, because the funny thing about the craft is that your body keeps getting older and you keep aging, which changes the amount of characters you can play, which
Mm,
changes your life experience. So it's this you're constantly chasing uh, the changes. You're constantly exploring and pushing forward. Yeah, so I guess I'm the type of person that doesn't look back. I'm always looking forward and looking at the who am I going to play next.
right. Well, it's interesting because, being a voiceover artist as well,
Right.
that's timeless. You can play little kids forever.
Yeah, so for me, there's no such thing as voiceover. It's just acting, character
Acting,
acting.
right.
And I've always been a character actor. Like I've played little kids on stage when I was in my 20s. I played an 8-year-old. So like it didn't matter to me whether I'm behind a mic, on a stage, behind a camera. Yeah, I'm a character actor. I've always been. Even in my 20s when I couldn't play, they wouldn't let me play the characters I wanted to play because I looked to, 20-ish.
Mm.
So I was like, I don't like this on camera crap. They just kind of lock you into, like the most interesting roles were hookers and drug addicts. So I would go, ooh, I want to book that. That's
Right.
interesting. So I did.
Strawberry much? No.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, they'll have to look that one up in the Urban Dictionary. So,
That's fair.
yes.
The internet is at their fingertips. They are quarantined, I hope.
Right. So, like, were you one of those kids that was like just around the house, just imitating things
I
that you
tortured
heard?
everybody.
Tell
No,
me
I don't
about
know if I
that.
imitate. My father can imitate anybody. My father
Hmm.
is an impressionist. Like my father could do Peter Sellers characters. So we watch a lot of Peter Sellers movie, and my father could do almost any of those characters. My father was a great
Right.
impressionist. He was great with accents. He always was, and he's a military commander. And
Wow.
even at my parents, who are great hosts throwing parties, like they're just really good party throwers, they would do skits and sketches because it was part of the
Really?
Navy. Yeah, apparently when the naval officers get together, they would do these ridiculously funny sketches all the time. And I was always putting together my own little performances.
Mhm.
I was literally performing whatever movie I saw on Sunday night to the old lady next door. Her name was Mrs. Proudfoot. She was in her 90s. She was my best friend. She didn't
Mhm.
have a television. So I would go to her house and I would act out the entire thing for her. So, like, yeah, it's always been there. It's
Was she
never not been
always
there.
a receptive audience?
Oh, cookies,
I was
tea.
I
She would
was
sit,
gonna get
she
to that.
sat there, and who knew how long I would perform? I feel like I did the entire movie, and she would just let me go. I was her television. I
That's
for sure
so
was her
interesting.
television.
Did you have a little hanger on your head for your antenna? So,
Uh, no, I don't think so. But it was like she had like those great 1940s toys, like the
right.
blocks and the tin toys and all that.
Oh,
So
yeah.
yeah, she was a really good person to hang out with.
That
And I've
sounds like
always like
fun.
it never sounded like I never thought of it as a job or a career, right? Because
Hmm.
when you're doing it, you're just doing it. So whether if it was like, oh, theater play at school, I was like, I have to do this. I was very competitive over roles
Hmm.
early on because I knew that this was something I was going to do. And I knew even when I was like in grade 4 that every role was going to count for my resume. So I would fight for roles because I'm like, I'm going to need this to get the next one. And there it was already ingrained in me. So, I mean, I would write my own stuff, force my sister to perform in it, force neighborhood people to perform in it, get my own little camera set up, do stupid sketches, force my neighbors to like I did. Halloween was an event. I produced it.
And what did that look like, Erin? What did your Halloween production look like?
Oh, if my house wasn't scary enough, the bar was at least one child would run away crying and screaming, and if they didn't, then I wasn't scary or convincing enough. So I would always
Ah.
dress as something horrific to answer the door at, and you would have to be a brave child to come get candy from me. I was going to be,
That.
yeah, and I
Yes.
was.
So outside of human companions, if you could bring one of your animated characters to life, which one would it be and what would you talk about?
This one right here, Bo. She's such a love ball. What we'd talk about how can we help people. She get really excited about, okay,
Mm,
who are the kids we know and what do they need and how can we help them? And she would get me so excited. She's just a love ball. She's pure love. She's pure love. So if I could make something real, I would want it to be her because I feel like every morning I woke up with her next to me. I'd be motivated for the whole day. I'd be motivated to do things and help others, and it would just
mm,
feel good all the time. Like she just takes me, even being her, she takes me to new levels of acceptance and love that I didn't think was possible. So yeah, she's my, she's mine
all right. Do you keep her up in there?
all the time. Yeah,
Wow.
I have her all over the house now that they make toys for her. So now I have her everywhere because every time I see her, my heart opens. Period. And like I love playing her. I love that I get to. I love that she's still that the show is still workable. So and that like I
Mm,
haven't had to retire her yet. I really love her. She is probably the highlight of my career. I compare her to being my Big Bird. You know how Big Bird was
nice.
like all love and everybody loved Big Bird and
Yes.
just a lot of questions. She's my Big Bird. And who wouldn't want Big Bird?
Hey, I want Big Bird.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Erin, there are a lot of characters behind you. A lot. How do
Oh,
you
these are just a dabbling.
Well, yes, I
I couldn't put
exactly.
them all on one page.
But how do you, I mean, with all of that, how do you keep your own authentic voice? What keeps you grounded with so many different characters and personas?
Yeah. Yeah. Great question. Well, each one of them are a different aspect of me for
Mm,
sure. It's like it's almost like I'm a spiritual person anyway, so I focus on like going to university to study myself as soul kind of a thing,
mhm,
and as soul, if and I believe in reincarnation and millions of
mm,
lifetimes, then perhaps each one of these characters is a different expression of myself in one way or the other had I been in that situation and living that universe, which I really love. But the thing that keeps me me is my spiritual practices. It's I do sit down every day to sing the hue every day.
mhm,
Which is just an ancient name for the divine. It's non-denominational, doesn't belong to anything in particular. Just I'm hue, and I do that for 20 minutes every day, and I find that that's like it acts like a tuning fork. So as an empath person or a clairsentient person
mhm,
that's easily I can tune into other emotions and other personalities very quickly. I can even take on the personality of a person I'm talking to. um, that I have to be careful with that. When I sing the hue, that it's like a tuning fork that calls all of the cars that are me back into me. And then I'm sitting at my own center of beingness. I do also sit quietly in my house for long periods of time, like quietly,
mm,
like no sound
nothing.
on, no music. I like silence so that I can just release energies that I've picked up from other people, release stuff like when I'm doing multi-characters in anything, they live in me, and I literally have to invite them in and then ask them to leave at the end of the day and be like, okay,
Wow.
I'll pick you up tomorrow
That's
for
really,
work.
right. Exactly. We're going to carpool. So
It's like having all of these imaginary friends that sometimes I let the imaginary friends use me as the vehicle.
that's pretty, I like what you said about that, the reincarnation, right? And that each
Yeah.
one of these characters might be a little piece of,
Yeah.
past errands.
Because it's interesting, because it's fascinating, the characters I book, right? Because you can't book everything as an actor, although every actor will be like, I can play anything.
Right.
But I find that the characters I book are not the ones that I ever expect to get. And they're the ones that fit me so perfectly that it does feel like a divine hand was involved in me connecting with that character, because there's something about everyone that I see here. There's a special connection of like, I can't believe I got to do that. Oh, that was so satisfying for me. It scratched something within me creatively in a way that allowed me to express something that I've been dying to explore. And it's like the universe knows exactly how to use me as its instrument. And it picks the music sheets and it picks the notes I get to play. All I have to do is prepare the instrument, make sure that's clean, make sure that the spit valve doesn't have anything in it,
Right.
so that it's a clear sound, make sure that everything is operational. That's my job. And then
Right.
and then the universe just brings me exactly the right music and notes, and then I can resonate with it. And I do, when I get to work with other creatives, there's this beautiful moment of collaboration. So there's a sacred part where I do privately and I get to have my own process and I get to imagine. And then I meet a voice director, and then a voice director will give me more of the universe based on what the producers, the writers, and everything, but they filter it. It's like producers, writers, all these people behind, and then the voice director hears everything and filters it into what will be not too much information to the actor, so that I can create it and make it into something palatable. But
Right.
writers in the room are important too, because writers have, again, like in video games, there's so big, it's the more detail that I get, the more it shifts in my imaginative space. Because as soon as I get a piece of detail, it's real in my imagination. My imagination doesn't know the difference between real and imagination, and nor does it care.
Right.
Because as long as I'm learning something or the character is learning something, it's real to me. So whether or not I have, which is kind of why I like behind the mic acting, because it's all imagination. I don't get sets, props, costumes, anything like that.
Right.
And I love living in all imagination. It forces me to add stuff and to pepper in spices type of a thing in a way that are usually kind of spoon-fed to you if you're behind the camera, because almost too much. So you behind the camera, you have everything and you have to work with whatever's physically around you, including lights, cameras, and 400 people on the other side.
Exactly. It's funny because I call my universe Keith World. And I'm the same way. In the car is my main thing. People are amazed that I don't like to have the radio on when I'm in the car. And that's usually
Makes
when I
sense to me.
drift off to Keith World. So I wonder sometimes if that's how alternate dimensions work, that they're really, in our heads and they're living their own world
inside of us.
heads.
Yeah. Like,
yes.
I mean, it's the multiverse, right?
That's right.
If we're on, it's an illusion that there's anything outside of us, that it's all, the temple is within. So yeah, why I feel like it's a form of soul travel, right? Like where our meat suits hold a certain state of consciousness while we can dive inward and explore all the universes of creativity and multiverses and past lives and whatever you want, really, if you give yourself permission to, and if you're at a level of acceptance to explore it in a safe way.
That's right.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of fun for me, especially like on a long flight and I'm tired of watching a movie that I've already seen before.
We do the same thing. Look at that. Nobody talks about this stuff, and you and I are doing it naturally ourselves. I'm like, ooh, a flight, ooh, nothing. Nobody's gonna call me. Nobody's gonna email me. They can't get a hold of me. I get all this time to
That's
just
right.
sit.
That's right.
I love the
And be
stillness.
with self. That's right.
I love that. That is one of my favoriteest things.
Yes.
I do
So,
like a lot of, nature around me too when I'm doing it. If I can. That's my
right, right,
favorite.
right. And it's
Because then
funny.
I can see it reflected.
Y- that's true. I never really thought about it in that term when connecting with nature, you know.
Yeah.
Um, so I've been in the entertainment industry for a long time, and it can be, it, especially live acting, can be
Yeah.
very cutthroat, right? It can be, and I think a lot of it's based around egos, and
Well,
insecurities.
humans.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I don't think you can
I
look
don't
at
know
any
what
job
those are,
anywhere.
right?
I think we're seeing it on a big, obvious scale in 2020. We're
Absolutely.
really seeing the dilemma of what it is. Someone called it the tensions of living, which is
Right.
really the tensions of being human.
Hmm.
And we all have the capacity to go to one side or the other. And God knows every single human being alive has experienced it just in this year. Like maybe you don't notice it about yourself before, but
Hmm.
this year you've paid attention a little bit and caught yourself swinging from one end of the pendulum to the other. So
Right.
I think that I know people always say that behind the mic actors are so much nicer and kinder than camera actors. I don't necessarily think that's true. I
Hmm.
think it's just more manageable because we don't spend as many hours with each other. We don't have to see each other for
Mm,
the same amount of time.
every
Um,
day.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
also it's such a different art form. Like in video games, which are the dramatic performances, really,
Hmm.
you record by yourself, so you're not even around other actors ever. In cartoons, it's usually comedic, so it's always the top comedians. So it's just like a bunch of stand-up comedians or sketch comedians or like sitcom comedians being together. It's hilarious and it's a lot of fun and it's ridiculous. So that has a lot to do with why people, and also our audition process is different. We really don't have to sit all next to each other.
Hmm.
There's nothing worse than sitting in a room of actors
Yeah.
all going for a job, because that
Yes.
energy is like all over the place and we feel each other's energy and the insecurities and the fears
Hmm.
and the blah. It's so hard to audition for something when you're feeling what everybody else in the room is feeling, and most actors have a clairsentience to them already. It's
Right.
just, that's a mess. So you put a bunch of on-camera actors and then you make them wait 4 hours in an audition process. Ugh. Ugh, of course they're reacting.
Right.
Half of the stuff they're reacting with isn't even theirs.
Right. And that's really funny. That's a good way to say it, is reacting. They're
Hmm.
reacting to the environment that's created, as
Yeah,
opposed
yeah.
to, coming in with some other actors who
It's
don't have to
always
worry
made me
about
wonder
hair,
why do,
makeup.
and I wonder why they make that process that way. Like it does seem like a power trip, not on the actor's part, but on the people who create these cattle calls to put actors in that position, which is not a, if you're looking for the perfect solution to your problem of creating a character, that is not conducive to finding someone in an authentic sense. I
Right.
feel like COVID has probably helped a million actors on the planet because you're auditioning from home, putting
Hmm.
yourself on tape. And yes, I get it. Most actors don't want to do the technical stuff like recording yourself, engineering yourself, running your own tape. But the freedom of auditioning clearly and being the character you want to be without the influence of 1,000 other actors' energy in the room and their choices, which will be
Hmm.
different than your choices, then you get to authentically present the character you would present to the project, which is actually doing a service to the casting directors, because then they can see,
Absolutely.
oh, this is what you would have done. But if I show up in a cattle call of 100 girls that look exactly like me,
Hmm.
by the time I get into the room, I am not either myself nor the character I chose before I showed up, because I've taken on way too many other people's energies.
Yeah.
Not just the people in the room, but the characters they've chosen who have been also bombarding the room.
Right. That's it's just amazing. I mean,
Fascinating.
your insight to the industry is, it's pretty, I think, spot on.
Oh, I appreciate
You
that.
could teach a master class about that.
I just know my own experience. I can only
Yes,
speak from my own experience and
right,
how I experience the world, because I'm energy and feeling sense oriented is different than someone who's auditory or visual. You know, like everybody comes at it their own way, but I
right,
can't see that the for an auditory person to have to be in a room with 100 actors running their lines, or a visual person having to be in a room with 100 actors acting
right,
out the, like, all I feel like there's no type of person that's going to benefit from that.
right, right, right. You know, when I started out in the industry in front of the camera, I started out as a
Right.
as a model, and
As you could still model though.
thank you, boo. But but I you know, just the pressure that you feel,
Yeah.
you know, the
Yeah.
physical pressure you always feel. So when people discovered that I actually had a
Yeah.
brain and could write and do, you know, some other things,
Also,
I
that part right there, when people
yes.
discovered I had a brain, which is exactly how, which when I moved to LA and I refused to tell anybody I was an
Mhm.
actor, because immediately you're written off as a human being.
Exactly. And so
Like,
I
it's such a low opinion on someone labeling themselves an actor.
right, right, right. But
At least it was then.
yeah, I navigated behind the scenes very easily. I was like,
Yeah.
it was just a whole lot less pressure. Now,
Yeah.
let's talk about Wonderful Woman of Oz. I
Thanks.
yeah.
It's a passion project.
Hmm.
Um, that literally Spirit has been kicking my butt to do for 40 years, since I was
Hmm.
3 years old, and I ran from it for 40 years and said, nope, nope, too hard, nope, impossible, nope, nope, nope. It chased me my whole life, the show. Finally, you'll appreciate it. Um, there was a day where I was really struggling. Like, it was an argument, but like every contemplation I tried to do, it was coming up. I couldn't escape it. It was really riding me. Like, this is the year you have to start. This is the year you have to start, which was like 2, 3 years ago now. And I went and I babysat a friend of ours, little Marley, and
Oh yeah.
I had a great day, and I had released all of it. And as I was walking out the door, Victoria turned to me and said, "What is the thing that you're supposed to be doing that you're not doing?
Mm,
The thing you're supposed to be writing that you're not writing." And I'm like, "I'm not a writer. I don't write. No, I don't write anything. I don't know what you're talking about.
right.
I don't." And I can't believe I even tried to pretend like I did. She
Yes.
played it off. She's like,
Yes.
"No. What is the thing you're supposed to be writing that you're not writing? Because Spirit wants you to do it. And if you don't do it, someone else is lined up. But there's things that you're going to bring that nobody else can bring."
Mm.
So that kicked my butt. She didn't know what it was.
Yeah, shout out to Victoria Platt, who also does
Y'all,
the voice of
y'all.
Psycho Rax for us. Go ahead, I'm
She
sorry.
didn't know. She didn't know what it was. So she told me the next steps. So I just followed the next steps, which were the simple steps. And then I started the process. And it was like a good 3 year process. No, 2 year process before the first performance. So it was a process, a year of me just trying to get something cohesive to on paper. Um, I had picked my director, but I wouldn't tell him what it was. I said, "I've got a thing I want to work with you with, but I'm not ready to tell you what it is yet," because I was leaving myself an opportunity to abort mission at any time. And I knew
Mm,
as soon as I said it out loud to him, I would be committed to him, and I knew I would not waste his time, because as a producer and a director, I love and admire.
mhm.
And he would be doing it as a passion project with me,
Right.
because there would be, doesn't look like there'd be any money, because we
Right.
have to get permission, we have to get all of this, like, there's a lot of red tape in the way from just working with me on a project. He lives in Portland and I lived here, so we, for 2 years, a year writing it, got it, a year rehearsing it with him over Skype. This was before
Mm,
COVID. We just were in 2 different cities, so we rehearsed it over Skype. Who knew that was going to be a thing? And
yeah.
then the first performance was in Los Angeles, September of last year. And we had gotten the rights from WB to workshop it and to perform it in front of audiences of less than 100. And it was more, we got the rights, because there were two sets of rights. There's the movie and then the songs, two totally
Right,
different
right,
studios.
right.
So we got the green light for that. And so we did two performances, one in LA in September and one in March, 3 days before lockdown of 2020. And yeah, so it's me acting out the film The Wizard of Oz. No sets, no costumes, no props, no lighting design.
Yes, except for your ruby red sneakers.
Except for my ruby red sneakers. Which were the red Reeboks that I used to wear when I was going to university theater school, because I needed to be in something that I could jump around and be a whole bunch of different characters in. So the first thing that I thought of, I'm like, isn't that funny? See how the universe sets things up. So that was in university. 20 years later, the universe is like, if you wear those sneakers, it will feel normal and comfortable.
Right.
So I did.
Your
I
magic sneakers.
my magic sneakers. And the agreement with my characters, there's 28 characters or so that I play. They all live in the sneakers, and they have to, when I take the sneakers off, they stay in the sneakers. When I put the sneakers on, they're allowed to enter the body.
Yes.
And I wanted to do it without sets or costumes or props. Because I think we're living in a time when everything is spoon-fed to us and overproduced. Like, you can't go to Broadway without like the big screens behind and the flashy, and I thought, well, that's not where theater started for me. Theater started, like, I remember being in a, 9 years old, sitting in an audience in a touring theater show, came into the gymnasium and performed something that inspired me. That, I mean, the bug was already within me, but to see it live in front of me like it was possible, I'm like, I want to do something that any little girl watching me can look at and go, I don't need any money. I don't need to have big fancy anything. All I need is me and the talent that is within me, that was given to me by the divine. And I just have to get better at this. And so this show became my opus, and it is my opus. And now we're in negotiation to move forward with it and get the rights and all, like, license it. And we were supposed to tour it this year, but everything happens for a reason.
Absolutely.
And it keeps me in I hadn't done physical theater in 20 years. So getting back in my body, because behind the microphone, I can do whatever my body needs to do to get the emotion out.
Still, when we did,
right.
you were very animated. You are still
but I
doing
don't
it.
necessarily move to deliver story. I move to deliver emotion behind a microphone. So to get back where I had to discipline my body to do space work and, all that stuff, I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot. And how much I loved doing that when I was doing theater. So it got me back to my theater roots. It was able to take me, like, I got to see, like, the easy part was the 20 years of character work behind a microphone. So the characterizations were locked and loaded on day one. I had the characters, and a lot of them were different choices than the film. A lot of them, I made them my own characters, because I knew it would be fun to be that character as this character as this character, and that it would be fun to jump around in, and that would be different enough. So that mastership in that area gave me the confidence to push through a year's worth of rehearsals that were brutal. And the one thing that was the hardest was 80 pages of dialogue. 20 years I'm reading off of scripts and not having to memorize a dang word. Because I haven't in 20 years. And then I create 80 pages of dialogue that I have to memorize. And it was even harder because I knew the movie off by heart. And then we had rewritten it. I had to make sure that the script was going to be deliverable in a way that if a kid saw it and never saw the movie, they would have the experience of the story. So a lot of things had to change. A lot of things needed to be modernized. A lot of little tidbits that, little commentaries I wanted to put in for social commentary, but not in a big dark way, but just in a way where it's not just me acting
very
out
classy, very classy, a way of slipping in those messages.
But the fun part for me, my favorite part is the Munchkin Land scene, because people come in thinking, but how is she gonna do? And I'm like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it.
I am encouraging people to make sure that they check it out whenever it is
Well, if you
available.
sign up at fakeradio.net on the mailing list for fakeradio.net, David Koff is the producer. So if you're on their mailing list, so the next time we produce, David will send out mailing list. But there's also, like, he does other great theater performances that are wholesome and adorable and good content, period. But yeah, that's where my show is findable, is fakeradio.net.
Nice.
for when we do it next.
Any other live action, you know, roles in the works?
I am not comfortable on camera. I hated seeing
But you're so
video footage.
pretty.
Well, this is about having the lighting in the right place and the right angle. When I saw the footage of the Portland show and the lighting, because we just rented a space, we didn't hang lights or anything. It's
Right.
literally it's guerrilla theater, right? We show up an hour before, we tech for sound to sound, cue to cue, and by cue to cue I mean like the lights go on here, the lights go off here, because that's really all there is.
Right.
And we also put up screens for sing-along so people can sing along with me. So it was just that. So the lighting was so bad to me as a plus 40 woman, where I'm like, that's what I look like. I don't look like that here on this camera Zoom call because I've got lighting and I've got an angle of a camera. But yeah, I can't control what I really like in real lighting, and that's the horrific ego vein process of going from 40s into 50s over the next few years is going to be a journey and a process for me. I think this show is going to be a gift to force me to accept myself more. I know my body level, my body acceptance, which I've always liked my juicy body, but putting it on a stage for older white women to judge was really hard, because they did give feedback and they were not comfortable with it. Yeah.
Wow.
Which I expected, because that's the generation that that created the whole diet scene in the first place. So, when what they were brainwashed to believe. And so I'm breaking definitely some boundaries in that area, at least for white women, because we've been, patriarched to death to fit in and to earn our privilege. Earn your privilege, make sure you're skinny, make sure you fit in this box, make sure you do what they say, and then you can have the privilege. If not, meh. So I'm breaking that a little bit at least for my age group. And I'm also breaking it for myself so that I can grow old with grace, and not old, but older. With the grace of accepting myself, because I don't want to get, I haven't had plastic surgery, I haven't had facelift, I haven't even had laser stuff done, but I have priced everything. I have priced it all. I know how much it all costs.
Just DM me.
But I don't want to get it done. So because I don't want to get it done, it's learning to accept myself in all lights, in all camera angles.
That's right.
And I'm not there yet. I'm not there. I have a hard time. Like, watching that show took me out for a week. Ego and vein wise, like, it took me out. You've experienced me where I'm like, oh no, that it is hard for me to see. I have avoided having to look at myself for so long physically, because I like how things feel. I don't care about how things look until I'm forced to see myself and be like,
you look great,
Erin. I want to look.
You really look great. You do.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
Pretty lady.
All right, thank you.
Let's talk a little bit about Califia and the Timeless Sentries and Queen Serpentine. So tell me, how did you get involved with this project? Or more importantly, why was it important for you to be involved with this project?
Oh my God, at the time, okay, I can't tell you as a professional in this industry how many times I've been on an all-white show. And I mean, not just the actors, but everybody being all white, except for maybe an engineer, and having the one token Black character or the one token actor, and feeling the discomfort of that actor in the room of like, you can feel the walls of like, I can't be myself because I don't know who these people are. I don't know how somebody's going to react. And I feel it. They can't express, they can't. And I've been there on so many occasions, and I've seen it on so many occasions. I was like, it would be really fun to reverse all of that, and I could be the token white girl, because I'd be fine in that room. I would be fine in that room. I would be so happy in that room. That would be my happy place. Why? Because I would get to see Black actors be their authentic selves, express themselves authentically, and having a great time. I want to be in that room, the room of freedom. That's what I like to be.
Right. Well, like I always tell you, you're not a token, you're a team member.
Oh, that's very nice, but I'm down with being a token. Like, you don't understand. I don't think that's ever been experienced enough, and I think you learn your privilege if you are
Mm.
tokenized. You learn the kind
That's
of privilege
that's
that you have.
interesting thought. Like, that's an interesting way to think about it. You know, when you've said that before, I never really saw it that way until right this moment when you said that. I mean, that makes a lot of sense.
You
It's almost
educate
like,
so many people on the experience.
yeah, you're putting yourself into someone else's shoes and kind
Yeah,
of walking their journey.
exactly.
Okay,
Yeah.
respect. I got
I want
you.
to share the experience of tokenism with white people so that they can learn that it sucks and that they need to adjust and open doors more. But beyond that, I knew I wouldn't feel like a token in your project, but I
Yeah.
also knew that you would create the room that I'd always wanted to be in, which is a free room filled with actors of multi ethnicities, all being allowed to feel like who they were and express themselves as artists without fear of judgment, racism, bigotry,
Mm,
any of that. I also knew your passion for comics because we had worked on that on World of
Warriors of
Wonder.
Wonder.
Yeah, and that was,
Uh-huh.
and I've also known you for a long time, and I've always
Yes.
wanted to be a part of whatever you created because I love you and I think you're an amazing
Oh,
creative
love you
person.
too. Thank you.
So that's for where it started. And then you would call me and just be like, well, what if I did this? What if I did this?
Hmm.
And I could feel your journey from like, am I allowed to do this? Like, it was really like, I think I'm going to do this, but I don't have the experience technically in that area, but I have a lot of knowledge. So it's such
Hmm.
a weird thing to have a lot of knowledge and no experience. And that's where you were at the beginning of the process.
Hmm.
And I was like, this is such an exciting thing to be a part of. I love process, and getting to be a part
Yes.
of your process as you went from knowing no experience to experience. And the knowing comes down as you experience. You're like, oh, it's not what I thought it was going to be at all. And getting to watch that journey and support it.
Hmm.
And also, I, you're like the only person, like, I can't tell you how many rooms I've gone to and offered, like, here's some brilliant black talent. You should hire these actors. These are great actors. And I couldn't refer them to people without being like, uh-huh, okay. And then they get shoved in a list in a corner of black actors as opposed to
Hmm.
like, they're actors
That's
type of a
right.
thing. And I knew that, like, I'd be like, oh, I can tell you, and what about this person, this person, this, and we got to brainstorm. Like, I loved that you were all
Hmm.
open. Like, it was just, working with you is the experience I want on the regular in my
Hmm.
industry.
Thank
So
you.
working with you is me manifesting the thing. What is it they say? Be the change you want to see in the world.
Right.
We were being the change I wanted to see in the world. So let's do it.
Absolutely. And Erin, you were such a
Sorry for the
significant.
gardeners. I
Oh,
don't know
that's
if you
okay.
can hear them.
I
Okay.
can barely hear them. I
Okay, good.
thought, yeah, you were such a significant part of my process, and I thank you
Oh,
so much for that because it really was a learning. Of course, like I said, I'd worked, you know, behind the scenes in
yeah,
live action before, but in
so much.
animation was a new arena for me, other than being, you know, a serious fan and writing. But the whole process of it,
Yeah.
that was new, and I had to get educated real quickly. And you were one of my teachers, so thank you.
Team members. I'm a team member. You said it
That's
yourself.
right. That's
I'm
right.
just a team member. Not just.
Absolutely. So tell me
It
about
takes a village.
Serpentine. Who is Serpentine?
So Serpentine, what I love about Serpentine and like characters like Serpentine, the Wicked Witch of the West,
Hmm.
they are so, Ursula comes to mind. Um, what I love about these female characters is they don't feel evil to me.
Hmm.
They feel like women who have been living in the patriarchy for so long that in order to express themselves, what they want and push forward, they've had to overcompensate, and by overcompensating they've had to completely detach about the feelings of others, period. And they
Hmm.
have lost themselves along the way, definitely void of love. The
Hmm.
love has dried up along the way.
Hmm.
They may have had love somewhere, but it got crushed, destroyed, pushed out of them, which is the case for a lot of people. So when I get to be them, it's almost like all of those emotions of being a female in an all male world, and when you come head to head with that power energy instead of the love energy, and what it takes to survive, to fight for that power energy. So there's greed, there's vanity, there's attachment, lust, anger, a lot of anger.
Hmm.
Um, and those are the things that I relate to. I relate to those passions of the mind. I have all of those passions of the mind like every other human. So to magnify them and play them in such a way as like, what would happen if I let them take over?
Mm-hmm.
Serpentine is a what would happen if I let them take over character. What would
Right.
that feel like? What would that be like? Where would the hurt live?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I really enjoy exploring that side of stuff. And I know how I am. And that character, like, I was very ultra aggressive with her, which lets you know what I was working out through her. Like
It
she was
was
my own form of
perfect.
therapy.
It was, I mean, it was just perfect. I mean, it just,
It was
yes. I
definitely
mean,
therapy,
yes.
therapeutic.
And,
At
but,
the end of the session, I was like, oh, I could go and I could go for a nap and a big meal. I feel great.
you,
But it
it's,
was so visceral, very visceral. She was very visceral for me.
yes. And powerful. I mean, even with
Yeah.
the leanings towards the dark side, she was so powerful.
Powerful.
You felt it.
Yeah.
You could feel how she could control all of these very powerful beings.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
gave us that. Like when Serpentine spoke, these folks were going to listen. That's what you gave.
Yeah. And
Was
yeah,
yeah.
it felt really, I enjoy dipping the toe in that water.
Mm-hmm.
I can see how that is addictive.
Yes.
I
Yes.
can see why people are addicted to that.
Right. And I thought it was interesting too when you said that you know, like women who are a part of the patriarchy, because as we know, you know, there's some religious aspects and abomination
Oh,
of
yeah.
religion, but there's
Yeah.
some religious aspects to it, you know,
Yeah.
also. So that's
Yeah.
a very interesting assessment of Serpentine. Does she does she have any redeemable qualities from the way you process her? Not what Keith wrote, but what do you think?
Yeah, the way she, yeah, yeah. For her, she does feel like there is she has a purpose. For
Hmm.
her, there is a purpose to her life and her living. And I don't know if it's love. I feel like it would be a misnomer to call her relationship with family members love,
Mm.
but she thinks it is. I think it's attachment.
Hmm.
And again, another form of vanity of where she wants to extend herself through the
Hmm.
person she created to extend her power. So
Hmm.
it's, I don't even think she identifies that individual as their own person,
Hmm.
but she thinks that, but she doesn't know any better. So for her, that is as close as she's going to get to love.
Hmm. It
But it is a motivating factor. It's
absolutely.
legacy, right? Legacy, which is got a lot of ego wrapped up in legacy.
Hmm.
A lot of
Absolutely.
vanity.
If if you had to if you had to go back and do something different with
Mm,
Serpentine, which you will get an opportunity to do, but if you had an opportunity to go back and do
yeah.
something different with Serpentine, what would it have been?
It would be to explore more levels. I feel like she took over and the intensity that came out of me at the time, I didn't really have control over it. She just came out like a force, and I wasn't ready to manage her. Does that make sense? Like I couldn't give her
Mm-hmm.
more notes. She kind of
Right.
came out like at a really strong, loud note, just like no.
Right.
Thank you for making the point, leaf blower man.
There you
Uh,
go.
but I would have loved to get into the subtext and not the subtext, but the more gentler notes and I don't know. I feel like I would love another opportunity with her to explore so many other aspects of her, different sides of her that I didn't really get to explore because I was absolutely in my creative expression and process locked into that one area that I needed to
Mhm.
get out first. And now that I got
Yes.
that out,
Hmm.
it's out on
You're
tape and it's on,
ready.
that's in the animation.
Yes.
I would like an opportunity to explore all these different aspects of who she might be as well.
Right. Well, you're gonna get that. I believe that.
I believe it too.
There you go. You know, there was that one line that you delivered where I felt like it was just so perfect when you said, well, at least your flesh won't be wasted. I mean, it was just.
And what she's imagining is so dark. Like in
Yeah.
my imagination, what she's thinking, I have no problem. You know what's funny, Keith, is I can't watch stuff like that on TV. Like I'm like, oh no, it's too dark. It's too dark.
Right.
But I think it's because in reality, when I'm playing it, I go all the way there. Like I can feel her pleasure in flaying flesh and torch. Like I can see it laid out. And while I'm being her, it's an enjoyable, indulgent, power, almost sexual kind of gross feeling.
Right.
Yeah, it's such an interesting place to explore as a human being, but it exists within me, or I wouldn't be able to access it.
Right.
So I think that's why I like acting, because that's the way I want to access those things. I don't necessarily like it through my content coming into me. I want to be the expression and not, I'm much more interested in being a part of the expression of it to deliver the experience to an audience member who won't have the opportunity to do it the way that I'm doing it.
Right.
That's the best way I could describe it, I guess.
And I remember when we, I knew you were so talented, so I never had any doubts that, because we never even, when I said, you know what, there's this great villain.
Oh yeah.
That I want you to do.
I saw her picture. I'm like,
right.
Yes, you picked right. Keith.
Yes, and I know
She's
you
for
can.
Me.
Yes, absolutely, 100%. And when you called me that day and you said, Keith, I want to try something out on you, and I was like, okay. You said, this is what I'm thinking for Serpentine. And so you did it. I was like, that was really good. But what you couldn't see was, yes.
Well, that's good. That's when things are lining up. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So that was so cool. Just did such an excellent job. And Erin, thank you so much for lending your voice, to the character. I just
My pleasure.
So appreciate you. Yes.
My pleasure. And then it's not just the final product for me, right?
That's right.
That experience of being in that room and the entire day of recording was one of those experiences I've always wanted to have. And I love that we were able to create it for ourselves. So I didn't have to wait for somebody else to give me permission to experience that. There was a lot of loving power in what we created. That was the love side, because it was all love in the room. It was safety. It was comfort. There was freedom, relaxation. Everybody got to fully express themselves. And a lot of people, it was their first time behind a microphone doing it. And once you could see the click, once they gave themselves permission to be like, oh, I could go there. And I'm like,
right. They were watching you and JB. They were like, yeah.
And then their full theater mode kicks in. And then, I got goosebumps just thinking about some of the performances I got to witness. And I got to be there. I got to witness the performances and the process. That nothing lights me up more than process. I love being around creatives and everybody just doing the thing they're best at. That's the best.
We were the village, and it was so.
We are the village.
That's right. We are the village. Yeah. And it was just so important for me to have a very diversified cast, and I wanted the voices to reflect what the characters look like, other than you, but
such talent. Like, I mean, I couldn't point one person out. There was everywhere I looked. Every character I was looking at, like how it was portrayed and performed was so perfect through the artist that you chose. It was such a gorgeous. It's so gorgeous to watch people who are the best at what they do what they do. It was just and then to watch. I mean, to me, the I know that the final product is like the be all end all for the producers, but that's like just the cherry on the sundae. This like all the good stuff's in the fudge and in the ice cream.
That's right.
The cherry is for everybody else.
That's right. That's right.
And I have no control how people like, whether they like maraschino cherries or not. There's just no, I don't know. But I really like the fudge and the ice cream.
Absolutely. That's all the goodness. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Erin, what's next for you?
Well, we are looking at, getting the permissions and rights to
Mhm.
continue with the show post-COVID.
Nice.
I
Wonderful
would
Woman of
like,
Oz.
yeah, wonderful woman. I'd
Yes.
like to take it to Edinburgh, like get the permissions to take. That's the dream for me, is to perform it in Edinburgh and have my sister there live watching it with me, because she helped me memorize 80 pages of dialogue.
Nice.
So that's on the plate. More getting to be Bo. I'm
Hmm.
so excited to get to explore her further and deeper. I'm very excited. I feel like I just now am hitting everything I ever dreamed of as an actor. I've got a theater show that pushes me to my maximum and forces me to stay in shape and keep my chops up and just be performable. And then I have this character that I can gift to the youngest generation, that they'll be able to live with and hold in their hearts, and hopefully help them, express their love and feel safe around. I know she's a comfort character for a lot of
Hmm.
people, and including a lot of people on the spectrum, which I love so much.
Hmm.
And then there's video games that I'm still in. Like, I'm still recording video games, and there are games that are coming out that I can't talk about that have me in them. And then I still play video games. Like, I do have downtime, and my
That's
downtime when
right.
I'm playing video games, I stream it on Twitch, but I don't
Hmm.
stream it as like, Erin, the voice actor, come and watch. I literally am just hanging out with other gamers
Yes.
playing. Like, I'm playing Animal Crossing and Pokemon Go and Pokemon Sword and Shield. Like, that's where I'm living
Right.
right now for mental health. But I'm doing it on a
Nice.
community online. So I guess I've got theater community, I've got online gaming community, and I got voiceover community. And
Yes.
and that's and it's all virtual right now because of COVID, and hard to see beyond that, but hopefully all of that in the real world on the other side of a
Hmm.
vaccine.
That's right. That's right. Glad to hear you say that.
Yeah.
So where can everybody find you, Erin, including Wonderful Woman of Oz?
Wonderful woman of that one that you just said,
I've
that out of your face. I talk for a living, your mom.
her, right?
fakeradio.net. Fakeradio.net. Sign up for the email list. Everything is through there. Erin Fitzgerald on Twitter, Erin
Mhm.
Fitzgerald on Twitch, Erin Fitzbadass on Instagram, and erinfitzbadass.com for my website if you want if you want just the Erin experience.
Experience.
erinfitzbadass.com, and it's got a
Right.
little bit of everything, and like all the all the fun stuff, like announcements and bloobity blah blah bleep.
Okay.
I like that my card is also backwards. Just so you know, when I was like, I don't know, 3 in the house, I had a over my light switch, my name was written down the side, and I didn't know how to read yet because I was 3, and I'm like, what does that say? And my dad started it from the bottom. He went, sounded it out. Nair. Nair. It says Nair. And it took me, and he waited for however long before I realized, that's my name. But it took me a long time. I thought it was Nair. When I look
Right.
at this, I think Nair.
Well, it's funny because it's the right way for me,
Oh,
but
is
I
it?
guess yes, but I guess you looking at it because I
Yeah,
see
it's
Erin
right,
Fitzgerald.
because it's Nair.
Right.
I'm enjoying that very much, that memory.
Nice.
Thank you. It's always good to see you. I'm
Always
glad
good
you're
to see
well.
you too. Thank you.
Hugs to
Yes.
all of the family member, husband,
Yes.
everybody.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that so much.
I didn't get to come to any events this year because COVID.
Yeah, well, we didn't have any, so
Good. I'm glad to hear it. I'm glad. But I thought of
yes,
you and
th-
all on all the
always.
normal dates.
That's right. That's right.
Like, normally I'd be going to Keith's right now.
I know, right?
Yeah, I felt it.
Yes,
I felt the absence. Yeah.
yeah. Same
Yeah.
here. Same here.
Yeah.
You guys continue to follow, share, and like at Califia Comics across all platforms. Episodes
Thank you for
1, 2,
watching.
3, 4 are available now. Make sure you check out all 4 of them. Thank you guys for your support. Erin Fitzgerald,
Keith Underwood.
talent extraordinaire.
Everything you can want in a man, right there.
That is moi. Well,
Oui.
you were doing German. I was doing French.
Ah, non, I was doing French.
Oh, okay. Well, then I am correct.
Oui, c'était français, complètement.
Un petit.
Ça
Yeah.
va.
That's it. That's all I got. And some broken Creole. That's it. So
That's French.
yeah.
Yeah.
Erin, thank you again. And we'll have to talk soon. I appreciate you. Back at you. You guys, thanks a lot for tuning in. And Erin, I will talk to you soon. Thanks again.